Welcome to the 5th chapter of the book of 1 Kings. Hiram helps build God's house and begins. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants to Solomon. Now, the city of Tyre, I have a map here. The Sea of Galilee is here, and this is where Jesus was. It mentions him going up into the area of Tyre and Sidon in Matthew. And then earlier in the 26th to 29th chapters of the book of Ezekiel, it talks about Tyre and prophecy. I believe it is in the future, a lot of it. You can go in there and look and check it out in Ezekiel. Or you can also go on Wikipedia. It has an interesting article on Tyre and how Alexander built a causeway out to the island city and overtook it. A lot of things about Tyre. And it's in Lebanon today, south of Beirut, but controlled pretty much by Hezbollah, who are the Muslims who are trying to destroy Israel even today. So at this time, though, they were not enemies to Israel. So Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants to Solomon, for he heard that they anointed him for king in place of David, his father. For Hiram was loving David all the days. Apparently, David and Hiram got along, and I can't think of any place in the Bible where it talks about David attacking the cities of Tyre and Sidon. Apparently, they were allies. And so Hiram has now heard that David has died, and Solomon sent to Hiram saying, "You knew my patera," father, a paternal comes from that derivative, "that he was not able to build a house to the name of the Lord my God because of facing the wars that were encircling him." God said that he was not to build the house, but his son would be building the house, but that God would build a house to David into the eons. And Jesus came through the lineage of David. Even though the Jews stopped being a nation for 2,000 years, but yet Jesus continued the house of David all through this and even until today. And David was not allowed to build because God said that he was a man of bloodshed, but that his son would be building it. So David prepared for the house and got all sorts of wealth and gold and materials for this house. And then he says, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. So David eventually defeated all of his enemies. But the reason why God is the one that did not allow him, it wasn't because he was busy doing something else, but God didn't allow David to build it. And then he says, and now the Lord, my God, gave rest to me round about. Things are going well with Solomon. There's not a plotter. Nobody's after his kingdom yet. And there is not a wicked meeting. Nobody's contriving evil things against Solomon. Behold, I speak concerning building a house to the name of the Lord my God. Kyriou. As the Kyriou spoke, the Lord spoke to David my father. It's a title. And the name, it says a name, but it's not a name. It's the Lord. It's a title. And this onomati, it could be used as far as a name. A lot of Greek words have dual meanings. And either a name or a title would be synonymous, the same thing. We see that with Gini, a woman or a wife, and Anir, a man or a husband, a name or a title. God, I just can't imagine him having a name like George hairy or anything like that. Today, the Jews have pushed this idea of Jehovah, which I mentioned in the book of Joshua. In the video introduction to the book of Joshua, there's no Yah, Yah pronunciation. In the Greek transliterations that were before Jesus, it was always E, not Yah, but E. And so here he's building a house to the title of the Lord my God, or name, as the Lord spoke to David my father, saying, your son, whom I shall put instead of you upon your throne, transliteration, this one shall build the house to my name. And now give charge and let men, now he's still talking to Hiram, give charge and let men fell Xelah, timbers for me, from out of Lebanon, and mentioned many places. Xylophone, the musical instrument with the little wooden bars that you hit with a mallet, comes from that. It's a derivative. So apparently Lebanon had a lot of woods, a lot of forests. I don't think it has it today. And behold, my bondman shall be with your bondman, and the wage of your bondman I will give to you according to all as much as you should say. For you know that there is not among us one knowing to fell timbers as the Sidonians. Now the Sidon was up north in that map, north of, see if I can get this down here. Sidon is up here. So I suppose the men from Sidon were lumberjacks. Lumberjacks are also where I live in Newport, Oregon. It was famous for all the lumber that they cut down over the years. Now the ecologists have pretty well slowed it all down. They're still cutting down of timbers. I've seen them. It's amazing how they cut down the timbers in the olden days. I mean, these trees were, huge. They would chop a little hole in the side of this tree, and a man, like here's the man right here. This is how big the man would be. The tree would be this big around. I hope you can see that. The man would be like this big compared to the tree, and he'd have to cut this tree. And these men were tough. They didn't have chainsaws back in those days. They had saws and they had axes, and this is what they were using here with the Sidonians, cutting down these probably huge trees. And it came to pass, as Hiram heard the words of Solomon, he rejoiced exceedingly and said, "Oh, evlogitos Kyrios Cimeron, os edoketo David ion phronimon, epi ton leon ton polin tuton." Blessed be, eulogy is the derivative, the Lord Kyrios today, who gives to David an intelligent son over this populous people. And Hiram sent to Solomon. Now, we don't know when David died, how old he was. We know in the last chapters a story about Haggith and warming him up. David became king Solomon became king while David was still alive. How long David lasted afterwards, it doesn't say. It could have been another 20 years. David could still be alive here, I believe. I don't think it says that he was dead. In place of David, your father, he made him king. It doesn't say he's dead anywhere here. And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, "Well, I have heard concerning all which you have sent to me. I will do all your will for timbers of cedar and pines. Kedrina is almost a transliteration. Kedri, cedar. My bondman shall lead them from out of Lebanon into the sea." So they're going to cut them down, take them by horses or oxen and wagons and take them to the sea. And I will put them on barges unto the place of whichever you should send for me. And the Phoenicians were sea people in the Mediterranean. They went all the way to built up Carthage, even went out, and the Pillars of Hercules into the Atlantic Ocean and set up a colony on the coast of Spain, I believe it was. Yeah. Then I will shake them off there, and you shall lift them. So you'll get them off the barge. And you shall produce for my want to give breads to my house. And Hiram was giving to Solomon cedars and pines according to all his want. Then Solomon gave to Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat. We have cores comes from that. And food to his house. And 20 baths of olive oil being pounded. Bath, possibly came, the English word came from that through the Greek, of olive oil being pounded. And take the olives, pit them, beat it, get the olive oil out of it. And the first press is the virgin olive oil, which I use for putting on things, or mixing and making pesto with basil, which I grow in my window. And then the third batch is called pomace, and that's after they beat it twice. Then the last is called pomace, and pomace is used for basically cooking. So 20 baths of olive oil being pounded. According to this, Solomon gave to Hiram yearly. And the Lord gave to Solomon Sophian wisdom, as we learned in the last chapter, as he said to him. And there was Irene, peace, between Hiram and between Solomon, and they ordained a covenant between themselves. And King Solomon brought tribute from out of all Israel, and the tribute was 30,000 men, and they went and worked. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 by month, being changed by month. They were in Lebanon 1 month and 2 months at their house. So these men were working and going back and forth, sort of like the fishermen do here in Newport. They work at certain periods of time, and then they're off, depending on the fish. And Adoniram was over the tribute of Solomon, money coming in from other countries and peoples, and were to Solomon 70,000 lifting a load, and 80,000 quarriers in the mountains cutting stone, and these lifting a load must have been workers, basically. And this was separate from the rulers being placed over the works of Solomon. There were 3,300 supervisors over the people of the ones doing the works. A lot of people working and building all these things for Solomon. And the king gave charge, and they lifted great valuable stones for the foundation of the house, and unhewn stones. And the bondmen of Solomon hewed the stones, and the bondmen of Hiram and the Giblites all worked on this. And they prepared the stones and the timbers to build the house. There we have all of the preparation. Now, the foundation and what the temple is all about. Find out in the 6th chapter, our next video seminar. Hope you'll join us. Until then, God bless.